Diane and I were fortunate to be able to visit Kennedy Space Flight Center last year, and we did a tour of where the launches take place, and part of the tour, you have to be Alan and my age to remember this. But if you are our age and in the 60s, when the U.S. space program was relatively new, do you remember President Kennedy saying, "We choose to go to the moon"? And the Apollo program sending people to the moon, and that first moon landing, and Neil Armstrong, the world was captured by the broadcast. And what people remember, and what I remember, is Walter Cronkite broadcasting the moon landing on CBS News. Well, that building that Walter Cronkite broadcast from is still there. And they point it out to you as you go on that tour. And this is right near the Vehicle Assembly Building, that huge, tall building with the American flag on the side, where they roll the rockets and the space shuttles out from. That building's fascinating, but I couldn't get my eyes off the building that Walter Cronkite had been in, because I remember that July night when the entire world was watching television and listening to the moon landing. Walter Cronkite was referred to as the most believable man in America. Twice he was considered as a vice presidential nominee to run in the national elections. He declined both times. Things have changed. Our legacy media, now when you say legacy media, you're referring to television, newspaper, radio. Our legacy media is at an all-time low as far as people believing it or having any trust in it. What I'm going to tell you is from a recent Gallup survey. Fewer people in our country have trust in our media, legacy media, than they do Congress. And the trust in Congress is at an all-time low. The trust in Congress, Gallup survey says, is at about 32%. Around 32% of Americans have any trust, we're not talking about high trust, any trust in Congress. Around 27% have trust in legacy media. People just don't believe what they hear. Is there a reason for that? We could probably say yes. There's a reason for that. But it's very troubling. And it's very troubling because people are searching for truth. They're searching for information, and they don't know where to turn. Our younger people, and when I say younger people, I'm talking about adults under 30, 77% of our younger people, again, according to the Gallup survey, 77%, now just think about how large of a percent 77% is. 77% of our younger people get their information entirely from social media. That would be YouTube, X, Facebook that we stream on, whatever. 77% of younger people get their information entirely from social media. There is a huge danger in that. Let me very quickly explain the huge danger. You have probably experienced this yourself. A few days ago, I was listening to, you remember the Carpenters? Okay. I was listening to a Carpenters song. And I just did an internet search for that song. And I have noticed now, every time I go online, the little pop-up ads want to sell me Carpenters merchandise. Well, you've experienced that. You are tracked. The problem with social media is not concerned with truth. They're concerned with connectivity. They want to connect you to what they think that the algorithm that they use says that you want to see. They don't connect you necessarily to what is true. They connect you to what you want to look at. Well, what does that do? Well, that creates bias. The fancy word for that now in social media terms is it creates an echo chamber. You hear back only what you want to hear. You see, how do most people in our world today look for truth? They have preconceived notions. They have what they want to think is true. And so, if they have preconceived notions, and social media is feeding them back only things that fit into their preconceived notions, then what is the result? The result is, well, I have to be true. This has to be true. Why does it have to be true? Well, because it's what I want to believe in, whether it's actually true or not. That another danger is that social media is not edited, where legitimate news sources have editors that try their best to make sure that the things that are being said, the information that's being put out is as far as they know is correct. Social media has no editors. You can say anything you want to. And if you can say anything you want to, and people are hearing only what they want to hear, then it just reinforces false ideas. There's no ethics, is what I'm saying. There is no ethics in social media. Now, what do we stream in social media? We stream in social media because in amongst all of the false information that's out there, we want to at least try to present factual, true information. If you are the person, if you're listening and you are the person who texted not long ago that you are thinking about suicide, please do not shut off the streaming. We're going to talk to you in just a moment. We're going to talk about truth. We're going to talk about where truth is found and the value of truth. So, where do people get ideas? Now, some people go to the wrong sources. I read an article not long ago from Reader's Digest where they listed some very bad ideas that people had been given. I hope I pronounced this lady's name correctly. Andrea Petrokhinas in Pennsylvania said that her husband in their garden grew a lot of hot peppers. And they wanted to dry the hot peppers. And they were asking around, well, how do you dry the peppers? Somebody in the Amish community said, well, put them in the microwave. So they did. And this terrible fume started coming out of the microwave. They had to leave their house till they could get the smoke and the fumes out of their house. And then they began to wonder, why did we take the advice from somebody that doesn't use electricity, much less a microwave? Or, this person is Chris Davis. Chris Davis said when he was a Boy Scout, they were going off out into the woods to camp, and they naturally asked about, what do you use for toilet paper? And the scout leader said, leaves. And that worked well until they got a hold of poison ivy. You see, you can go to the wrong source for advice. And it might sound good at that time, but it's the wrong source. I am also reminded of a story, supposed to be a true story. A very famous actress was on a cruise, and as she was going to supper that night, she noticed a man over here kind of sniffling, looked like he didn't feel good. And she said, well, sir, are you having problems? Are you not feeling good? He said, no, I just don't feel that well. He said, I think I have a cold. She said, well, I know exactly what to do. You take 2 aspirin, go back to your cabin, cover up with every piece of layer that you can find and sweat it out. She said, trust me, I'm an actress. And he looked at her and said, that's very nice, but I'm a doctor. So where do we go to look for truth? We go to look for truth to the only source that provides actual truth. And I'm going to put out the idea that the only source of actual truth is the Bible. Now, I say that because what am I, 68 years old? For 50 years, I have been dealing with a subject matter, a discipline that is both rational and objective, that deals with deductive reasoning, that deals with proof. There are 2 types of mathematicians. There are theoretical and there are applied. I'm theoretical. Nothing makes me happier than proof. An elegant proof. Mathematicians refer to some proofs as being elegant. Euclid's proof of the infinitude of prime numbers is an elegant proof. But even that, is it absolute truth? It depends on what you want to think of as absolute. Because in my field, in mathematics, you cannot prove everything. Mathematics depends on 5 statements originated in ancient Greece. All of mathematics depends on 5 statements that you just have to take at face value. You cannot prove them. One is, this is a very simple statement, parallel lines never touch. Really? Parallel lines never touch? Have you ever heard of latitude and longitude? Longitude are north-south parallel lines around the earth, but they touch at the North and South Pole. So you mean parallel lines never touch? Well, it depends on a lot of depending. There are 5 statements that cannot be proven, so you do not know whether they are absolutely true or not. You just trust that they are absolutely true. So is mathematics itself absolutely true? Depends on those 5 statements. Of human wisdom, there is nothing that is absolutely true. I have heard it said before that, well, science proves nothing. And I say that because the scientific method is not a method designed to prove anything. It's a method designed to investigate. But as far as absolute proof, no, you can't. Not with the scientific method. Well, archaeology proves something. Archaeology is just a form of science. It cannot absolutely prove anything. So I say, from somebody who has spent a lot of years dealing with proof and truth and reasoning and logic, that the only absolute truth in the world is in the Bible. If you are listening, and you are the one that texted us not long ago, I sent you a phone number that you can call to deal with how you are feeling. But I would strongly advise you to turn to the Bible. I would strongly advise you to find the truths that are in the Bible. And in the Bible, you are going to find that you are not worthless. In the Bible, you are going to find that you are made in the image of God. In the Bible, you are going to find that God has both a design, a purpose, a plan for you, loves you, and wants the best for you. Life is worth living. So how do people, and I'm not going to say that you, if you're listening, I'm not going to say that you are the person that is like this, but how do so many people find themselves in such a situation where they see life is worthless? They see no light at the end of the tunnel. It's because they have listened to the wrong voices. Maybe you, if you are listening to me right now, maybe you have listened to the wrong voices. The voices in the world today tell us things like there is no such thing as absolute truth. Everything is just depending on how I feel. That emotions are more important than truth. That I can have a truth that is true for me, but Bill can have a truth that's true for him, and we be polar opposites. The world today does not want to discuss morality in any shape, form, or fashion. The world today does not want to address the eventual end of all things. The world today does not want to address consequences for actions, because the world today wants to reject absolute truth. These things are lies, plain and simple lies. But there's nothing new. It's the very same lie that Satan used with Eve in the garden. God told you you can't eat of that tree? Well, wait a minute. God told you this because He didn't want you to be like Him. God used Eve's natural desire to believe what she wanted to believe. And the same happened with Adam against her. That's what society does today. They use the natural desire that we want our opinions to be true. We want our feelings to be true. Society uses that against us. And what happens is it causes people to have no hope, no trust in anything. Not our government, not our news, in anything. Well, what happens to a person if they have no hope and no trust in anything? Life becomes hopeless. Life becomes worthless. But it's a lie. There is absolute truth. There is a purpose. Suppose, just suppose, that truth is not found in a bunch of rules. Listen very carefully. Suppose truth is not found in a bunch of thou shalt and thou shalt nots. Suppose truth is not found in a bunch of rules. Suppose truth is an actual living being named Jesus Christ, who wants to have a relationship with you, who loves you, and who cares for you. And this living being truth is found in the Bible. In fact, the entire story of the Bible, from the beginning in the Garden of Eden throughout all of the books, is about this individual who wants to have a relationship with you, because that relationship is where we find not only truth, but we find life worth living. We find a solid foundation to life. We find a purpose, a meaning that tells us that we do have a value. We do have a need, and other people have a need for us as well. When Jesus was on the earth, Jesus said, this is Matthew chapter 5, and I'm paraphrasing. The quotation I have is from the New Living Translation, but I'm paraphrasing. Verses 17 and 18, Jesus said, "Don't misunderstand why I came to earth. I did not come to earth to abolish the law of Moses. I came to earth to fulfill the writings of the prophets, to fulfill the law of Moses. I came to accomplish the purpose. I tell you what? The truth. I tell you the truth that heaven and earth will disappear until it disappears. Not even the smallest words of the laws of God will be diminished." Think about that for a moment. The thing called truth is true. Now think about it. The thing called truth is true even if nobody believes it. 8 billion people on the earth. Suppose all 8 billion people looked at a statement of truth and said, "I don't believe it." Okay, but it's still true. You see, truth is not affected by opinion. Truth is not affected by feeling or emotion. Truth is not affected by consensus. Truth is true, no matter what. And Jesus came to earth to exclaim that He is the truth. That the Word of God is the truth. And remember, the Apostle John described Jesus as being the living Word of God. So the only truth in this world is found in the being of Jesus Christ, who again desires to have a relationship with you, even if you're feeling worthless, even if you're feeling dejected, even if you're feeling down, even if you're feeling like nobody cares. That's just a feeling. The fact is, there is one that cares, and that's the living Son of God. So if you are the individual that texted a little while ago, call the phone number, talk to people in a church, call somebody that can talk with you. But most important, find a Bible. Find out about this man called Jesus. Find out about truth. And find your place in a relationship with Him. That's a little different message than I had planned. But I hope everybody understands the situation. If you have a need at this time, Alan is going to lead an invitation song. Alan, I forgot the song. Way of the Cross leads home. Come at this time if you have any need.